Okay, hi David.
Hello, Ramelle.
I'm Ramelle with Ramelle Carter Blog, and you are here because I, I am a domestic violence survivor, and you reached out to me because you are a therapist,
Yeah.
and I just want to know how long you have been a therapist.
Well,
And
I've been a therapist for a very long
I
time.
just
I was a therapist for more than 40 years. I graduated with a master's degree in 1977. I worked in two county mental health facilities, hospitals, and then I worked for an EAP company for 7 years. And then I was in private practice for 35 years with my wife, who's also a therapist.
Okay.
So I have a really wide range of experience.
Okay. What made you get into the field? I mean, what
Well,
was
I feel really glad to have been a therapist. I'm retired now. I just retired in September.
okay.
Um, I think that it's the most interesting job I could have ever chosen because I'm fascinated by human beings, and there's so much diversity and interest in different people's stories. Everybody has a story that's worth telling, and to me, it was the most interesting career I could possibly have had. It's very gratifying to help people. I was very happy to have been a therapist all those years. And
Okay.
then in the last, my wife and I started off focusing on couples and individuals, but then in the last 15 years, I focused on trauma. And so that's how I developed the program that I lent to you.
Okay. So, well, was there something, growing up that, you said, oh, I'd like to get into that?
I think that my experience or my earliest experience of wanting to be a therapist when my wife and my first job in the human services field was as house parents for 21 delinquent boys. And
Okay.
we lived in a cottage and we lived with those boys 5 days a week and were responsible for almost everything. And it was a very emotionally satisfying job. And that's when I realized I wanted to do that kind of work. I want to work with people in a very immediate way. So after that, I worked in a county mental health center, the hospital. And, that was a very strong foundation of seeing human beings at their very basic psychological orientation. And from there, I worked with a whole variety of people. So,
Oh, okay. So you have this therapy. What is it called? It's
serum,
okay.
self-effective rapid eye movement,
Okay. But it's part of ED. Is it ED?
EMDR.
EMDR. Can you tell us what?
Eye movement desensitization and reprocessing is like a really complicated name. It's unnecessarily complicated. It's been around since about 1978. It was discovered by a psychologist named Francine Shapiro, who took a walk in a park and she was troubled by something. And she kept on diverting her eyes back and forth across the path. And she realized that this was desensitizing her from the emotions that she was experiencing.
Okay.
And so from that moment on, she developed a program that's been accepted by many thousands of therapists all over the world. And, if any of your listeners wanted to Google this, it's EMDR. There's a tremendous amount of research that's been done on this kind of therapy. My first reaction to the therapy was to be very skeptical because when it first came out, the only thing I knew about it is that the therapist sits in front of the client with their fingers in front of the client's face and moves the finger back and forth like this.
Okay.
And I thought, what kind of change can that create? I mean, it sounded like magic to me.
Okay.
But even though I was skeptical, I was open-minded.
Right.
And so I went to the training and I realized that this is different than any kind of therapy I've ever experienced.
Okay.
It's groundbreaking discovery. And the discovery is how your brain, when it's in an REM state, which is a rapid eye movement state, your brain is much more capable and competent at resolving any issues. There's one brain researcher who called REM brain activity dishwasher for your brain.
Okay.
That's essentially what it's like. If you've ever had an upsetting experience and you go to sleep and you wake up and it's not as troubling, and it's because you had an REM brain activity that kind of dishwashed some of that activity away.
Okay.
So I used EMDR for a number of years, and then I gradually gave my clients more and more control over their own experience.
Wow.
Yeah, it's like it's like the traditional EMDR therapy experience, the therapist has a great deal of control over what's happening, but I had a lot of confidence in my clients' ability to do that for themselves. So even in the sessions in the office, I would give people more and more control over what they were doing. And finally, I gave them total control. I gave them a machine. I lent them a machine that separates the sound. I used music, and I had them to do their own program at home. And then I had the epiphany that I could create a program that people could do at home on their own, and then come back and talk about their experience with the counselor. And what I discovered is that when people do their own therapy at home, it's actually more effective, this EMDR therapy, when a person is not self-conscious.
Okay.
Crying in front of the therapist. Like in an EMDR therapy session, the client might cry for 5 minutes, might even cry for 10 minutes, but people who do my program, depending on how much trauma they have in their lives, have reported to me that some of them cry for the whole 60 minutes. Okay. And then they may do it over and over again until all of those emotions have been processed out of their brain.
Okay.
So that's how it works. You know, you think about, you don't ever experience having an REM brain state unless you're asleep. So this program puts your brain into that experience, and for the very first time in your life, you have control over what your brain is doing while it's in an REM state. Okay. So why it's so therapeutic.
Mm-hmm.
Did you try it a second time, or how was?
I haven't been able to do it a second time, but when I did the first time, it was relaxing. It was therapeutic. You know, it put me in a deep relaxation state, and I had a lot of things going on. It was done, as soon as I downloaded it, I did feel some type of peace, because I liked the music. I liked the way it was put together. It was,
relaxing.
Really relaxing, yes. And I do want to do it again. I hope that people will download it, because, they can get to do this at home since we're stuck at home, under this at-home order.
Now, you did go to sleep while you were using the program, did you?
I did not.
That's good.
Did not go to sleep.
The thing is that there's a number of people who, when they use this program, it's so relaxing, they go to sleep. And the problem with going to sleep is that is because their primary coping mechanism is avoidance.
Okay.
I once had a client who, every single time he started talking about his father, he would go to sleep. He would just almost pass out because it was so emotional, and his only coping mechanism was to avoid that. And so he would go to sleep. And so a lot of people, when they use this program, if their primary coping mechanism their whole life has been to avoid feeling those sad feelings, the program will create a situation where they're going to go to sleep. So they have to kind of fight to not go to sleep but still stay relaxed. Yeah. And then, you notice when you use the program that you have the choice of daydreaming what trauma has occurred to you. And that's what gives people all of the control. So if you have like 5 things in your life that have been traumatic, it's like when I've worked in private practice, I'm amazed at how many women have been sexually abused. It's like, it's so dispiriting, it's so discouraging to hear these stories over and over again. But if you have like 5 experiences, you can choose, okay, let me do the easiest one first. And then you work on the second one and the third one until, you basically can dissolve those traumatic emotions out of your brain.
Okay. Well, so let's talk about that. The sexual, you working with women who have been sexually, is it sexual abused or sexually harassed?
I think it runs the whole spectrum.
Wow.
There's so many women who have been molested as children and then, sexually abused and raped as young women. And, it's one of the harder things to get over. People carry the trauma of that and the wounds of that their whole lives. And what happens is that trauma gets sequestered in a part of the primitive brain and it just stays there. And even though you don't want those emotions anymore, it just stays in your brain. And then some things can trigger those emotions and you wind up reacting in situations that you don't really want to react. And you might even know it's an overreaction.
Okay.
But it's because those emotions are so hard to get rid of. The only time your brain is really effective at diminishing those traumatic emotions is when it's in an REM state. That's when your brain is really good at it.
Okay.
So, my program uses classical music and guided imagery. It's recorded on 2 separate stereo channels and the sound goes back and forth, back and forth. That's sometimes hard for people to get used to.
Right.
It stimulates your brain in a way that you've never experienced before.
Okay.
And so then you have a control with your eyes closed, you visualize what happened to you. And that's emotional. It's like some people wind up having a very emotional experience. And if it's too emotional, you can stop it at any time. If it's too emotional even to do it again, then the thing to do is to skip the first part of the program, which is a relaxation exercise, and go to just the music and go for a walk.
Just the music, okay.
It's like there are 2 aspects of this trauma. One aspect is visual, and the other part is cognitive. And when people have so much emotion that they can't do the visual part, then they can think about it with less emotion. And when you go for a walk, and your brain is being stimulated this way, some of what happens is like it's a brain boost. Your brain processes things more effectively, and it's like when you think about having obsessive thoughts, you can diminish and even eliminate your obsessive thoughts when you walk with my program.
No, that sounds interesting. The thing about it is that you said also, since we talked before, you worked with domestic violence. Women who suffered domestic violence. What did you see? Can you give me insight on?
A couple of times, I think I told you about this. I had a couple women who came to me immediately after domestic violence, and they were in a state of shock. And if you've ever seen anybody in a physical state of shock, it's a little bit like they're numb.
Okay.
They're almost mute, almost completely unable to speak.
Okay.
And it's just a matter of the pure shock of what's happened to them.
Okay.
I had 2 women who did this and basically came out of it as though they just came out of a dream.
Wow.
Almost they came out and they woke up. They had been unable to function, almost like in need of hospitalization, and they completely came out of it. Those are the most dramatic experiences. My program works the best on things that are clearly in the past. Part of that is there's a part of one of the most famous researchers told about how REM works, Bessel van de Kolk, and he said that there's a part of your brain that helps you identify what's in the past. And when your brain has been severely traumatized, that part of your brain doesn't function very well.
Okay.
So when it gets this REM brain activity, what happens is that your brain clicks this on and it says, that was in the past and it's not relevant.
Mm-hmm.
And it's almost like you can just let go of it. But for women who are being abused right away, right now, and they're trying to do this work, they have to go home and they're still being abused. They wake up in the morning and they still have that kind of trauma. And my program is not successful at helping that. It can help people's self-esteem and make people feel stronger, but the abuse is going on right then. And a person like that needs to be in counseling immediately to
Yeah.
and maybe get kind of some rescue kinds of resources.
Yeah.
The program won't do that for them. But if say, for example, the abuse happened years ago and the person still feels anxiety about it,
Mm-hmm.
my program can completely diminish that.
Okay. What about if someone came to you and after they had the program and they said, hey, I'm right now in a violent situation with my partner. What, as you as a doctor,
I have a slightly different kind of reaction to relationships where I've seen where it's been abusive. And part of that is that as a marriage counselor, I've seen a lot of abusive.
Oh, you're a marriage counselor as well?
A lot of abusive relationships. And I don't necessarily give up on them like a lot of therapists would. A lot of therapists, I think, take the easy way out and say, oh, get out of it right away. I try and find what's valuable in that relationship, if there is something valuable. And my program actually helps abusive men too.
Wow. So men who have been abused.
Men, you think about most people who are bullies or men who are abusive. Those men have also have experienced abuse. Maybe not as bad as what they're inflicting, but they need to reevaluate their own behavior. They need to, when you think about what they're doing, they may be acting out their own abusive experiences. So I've had some couples where you would definitely call them in an abusive relationship.
Okay.
And they've both recovered, and they've both forgiven each other and gone on and had a constructive relationship. So before I would ever say to somebody, you need to get out of this relationship, number one, you have to assess how dangerous is the relationship. Mm-hmm. But number two, what are the strengths and what are the potential for healing the relationship? One of the very first couples I ever worked with, it's hard to believe, but they shot each other.
Oh.
Yeah.
And they
shot each other and recovered. They both shot each other and they recovered and actually had a good relationship. Now that's an extreme example, but they worked through the things that caused them that kind of acting out behavior.
Wow. So you are a marriage counselor.
Oh yeah.
First.
I was a marriage counselor before I was a trauma therapist.
Oh.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. That's great to know. So you can also help with relationships and.
Well, I'm retired now, so I actually don't see clients anymore, but I give free consultation to anyone who uses my program.
Okay.
And I hope that you told your listeners that for this program, I reduced the cost of the download to 99 cents.
99 cents. Now that's this week only.
That's this week only. It's ordinarily $15.
Okay.
And I give my program away regularly because my goal is really to help as many people as I can.
Okay.
I'm financially secure. I'm not doing it for the income, but this program has had such miraculous results. Mm-hmm. I can't let it go. It has the potential of doing so much good in the world.
Yes.
I hope your listeners will take advantage of that 99-cent download.
I hope so too.
If they need to get some advice.
Yes.
If they're too strong of a reaction, they definitely need to seek counseling because some people have a lifetime of trauma.
Yes. Yes. So what do you say to someone who, is right now, because we are stuck at home. And there's married couples that are stuck at home and they're having issues.
Yeah.
What do you say to them right now?
It's so hard right now. It's one of the hardest. It's probably the hardest time in the world that I've ever experienced. And you think about the things that are adding to people's stress.
Yes.
Not only like too much together time, but the financial issues and kids at home and
Kids at home.
And then there aren't very many therapists right now who are seeing people in person.
Right.
I've never done teletherapy, and I can't imagine how to do that online with a couple, but I know that there are therapists who are doing that. And I think that has to be better than nothing.
Yeah.
And for a lot of people, counseling helps. So I would ask them to reach out. Most insurance companies right now are covering teletherapy.
Okay.
So, they may not even have any. A lot of them have waived the co-pays, so they might be able to get free teletherapy from a marriage counselor.
Okay.
And they should definitely try and do that.
Right. So let's talk about the EMDR, correct?
Well, EMDR is the heart of my program. My program is se-rem.com. That's Serum Self-Effective Rapid Eye Movement Therapy. So that's
self-effective rapid eye movement.
Right. se-rem.com. EMDR is the heart of the program. My program combines elements of 6 different therapies.
Okay.
I was a therapist for a long time. And rather than just stick with this one therapy, the EMDR, I thought, well, let's combine the best elements of other therapies as well. And that's some of it. By combining them, they all have become more effective. So it begins with this a hypnotic kind of relaxation exercise, and it's delivered with this bilateral stimulation.
Okay.
It uses a program called Gestalt Child Within Work. That's a part of the program where people are asked to imagine themselves as a child.
Yes.
And at the same time be their adult selves and go back and comfort themselves as a child. Right. There's a number of people who have the experience that that's the first moment in their lives that they've felt really what it feels like to be loved.
Okay.
Themselves. So it's a very powerful part of the program. And then there's mindfulness, where like just being so aware of what's going on in your body and in your mind. That's the essence of mindfulness. And then there's music therapy, because music all by itself has therapeutic qualities.
Definitely.
Psychology calls this connecting with nature in a profound way. They call that awe therapy, whereas a person when you look at the moon and you realize you're a little tiny person and the moon is so large, or you look at the ocean, which is what is in my program, you have a sense of where you are on Earth and an appreciation of it. And so it combines all 6 of those qualities, and that's some of why it's so effective.
Okay.
But EMDR is the heart of it. That's what stimulates your brain into an REM state. And that's what makes all those other elements more effective.
Well, it definitely is effective, and I definitely enjoyed it. I would do it again. And I just hope that other people will try it. We're gonna...
Let me show you a picture of it. So just so your visual, that's it.
Self-effective
rapid eye movement.
Rapid eye movement.
It also comes in a little flash drive. So
all right.
Download is the one that's 99 cents, and I hope all of your listeners take advantage of that.
Yes. Can you have it available for another week after? Well, you know what? I didn't realize it's Mother's Day on Sunday. So,
happy birthday to all the mothers.
To all mothers, right. This week and next week?
Well,
Or
I'll make it 99 cents through next Thursday evening.
next Thursday, okay. Next Thursday, and that is, let's see, next Thursday is, wow, the 13th. No, the 14th.
Good.
So until May 14th,
That sounds good.
everyone is able to download it, and I'll make that available.
Right. And they can write to me for free, and I'll give them some consultation for free.
Ooh, free consultation also.
My email address is davidb at se-rem.com.
David B.
At serum.com.
Serum.com. I would definitely make that everyone aware and available, that is available to them through you. And it has been a pleasure speaking with you. I'm so glad that you reached out to me. So I thank you for it.
You're welcome, and thank you for having me, and thank you for interviewing me. It was a little
And so I know you're always available because you're retired. Another thing I wanted to say is, I know that people are looking for jobs right now. What do you say to someone who maybe has graduated from, and what should they do?
The thing is that I tend to be an optimist, and I think things are going to get better.
Yeah.
And I think we have to focus right now on small pleasures and self-care, and do what you can, and be patient, because things are going to get better.
And we could talk again if that's okay with you.
Sure.
If I can keep bugging you for information, because we all need information. We all need, to let people know that we are here.
Right.
We are alive and well. And so thank you again, David, for coming on. And again, you said until May 14th, 99 cents.
99 cents.
And you also will give teletherapy?
It will save people hundreds of dollars in therapy.
Okay, and you will give teletherapy, right?
No, I'll give consultation through email.
Through email?
Yeah.
Okay, through email. So free consultation?
Yes.
Through email?
Through email, right.
Okay, so I will make that available on my platform, and I thank you so much for giving your time, giving your information.
Okay.
I hope to see you.
All right. Thanks very much.
Keep bugging you, like I said.
No, that's good. All right. Thanks very much.
And thank you so much.
Alrighty. Bye-bye.
All right. Bye.